Okay, so it seems it's working finally. Um, Let me have a look. Yeah, okay. So I hope you can hear me. So as I promised, I wanted to give some tutorials. Actually, not really tutorials, but I just wanted to share my experience in using R, or I also just started learning Python. But I really want to improve my own skill. At the same time, I also would like um, to tell others how to learn this really fantastic, very impressive, and amazing software R. Or maybe probably we may also do something in the future about Python. But um, we will start something with R, and I would like to show you how you can actually learn this thing pretty quickly. I mean, for me, it took me very long time. I started learning it in 2017, but I feel I'm still learning it because it's really massive software. It's full blown programming language. So you really need to figure out where to start. So because you can do so many things, you can design website, you can write your own Word file or PDF or whatever you want, or you can do machine learning with it, or you can do statistical data analysis, and so many things you can do. So I would like to my interest is just to share you where to start, and how to learn this thing actually pretty quickly. So having said that, I think the first thing we have to do is we need to, of course, you need to um, install the program. That's the most important step. Once we So to install the program, I advise everyone to go to Cran, or maybe just Google something. What you can do is R, yeah, or just download R. You can just type R in Google. So you will go into the CRAN. This is a comprehensive archive network website. So you can go here, and then you can have the latest version. That's the latest version is R. Download R 4.05 for Windows, depending on the platform you use. If you use Windows, I use Windows. For example, if I have to install um, R for Windows, I have to just go through this, and then I can download it here. Yeah. But if you are using like Ubuntu, or maybe Linux, or maybe Mac or something, you need to install depending on your interest. Yeah. And once you run this, because I don't want to run it because I already have it. So you can, I hope everybody knows how to install, how to download something and install something on your PC. But once you run, you just continue next until the last stage. And the next thing you have to do is you need to install the IDE. IDE means integrated development environment. I mean, you can do your analysis with directly in R, but it's much preferable to use IDE. So for IDE, let's say you may use RStudio. I mean, RStudio is very popular for R, so you can either use RStudio, or if you prefer other softwares. For example, you can also use Jupyter Notebook is one of them. You can I use Jupyter Notebook so often. especially recently, but you can also just stay with because with Jupyter Notebook is a little bit complicated. The initialization or the steps to configure, it needs some kind of it's more complicated. So you need to, but I will probably show you in the future how you can start that. But for the time being, we will just use RStudio. Otherwise, you can also, I mean, there are so many IDEs. So there is one, Google Colab, for example. You can run. Google Colab is mainly for Python, but you can also run, it's mainly designed for Python, but you can also use it for R. But if you want to use Google Colab, you can simply write in Google, run R in Google Colab. For example, I was recently using it, and then you can have this Stack Overflow page. You go straight somewhere here, and then you can see, this link, for example. Someone is writing it, someone is answering here. So you don't need to write so many installations. You don't even need to have R or RStudio in your machine. So what you can just do is you can just open this link, and this gives you access to Google Colab. So with this, you can have 12 GB RAM. Let's say if your machine is 4 GB RAM, 4 GB or 2 GB, depending on the size of your RAM. You may have difficulties if you are running, for example, sophisticated analysis. Like if you have a very large data, you may need to have. I assume your data can be. You may not have as big as that, but if you want, you can also use this Google Colab. Google Colab is really free, absolutely free, but you can also have additional RAM if you want 35 GB, for example. I think you need to pay about €9 per month, €9 or $10 per month. Otherwise, it's entirely free. So let's say, this is independent. This is completely independent of my machine. I am not using my R here, so it's. I will probably show you further about this actually. So if you want, let's say, if I want to do 1+1, and then I can run this. So it's now activating it. It takes some time until it activates. Then it gives you. Now I'm connected, so it gives me the result. So that means I'm using the free version independent of my my machine. I have an 8 GB RAM computer, but this is completely different from my RAM. So if you have a machine that's not that doesn't have enough capacity, so this is really, Google Colab is really godsend for you. So you can just use it. It's free. You can run as as much as you want. The only thing you need is you need Gmail account, of course. So let's say, I think if I show you the RAM, so I have used only 0.76 GB of the total, but I have in total I think I have 12 point something GB RAM. So this is one IDE that you can use other than RStudio or the other one, the one I suggested, this Jupyter Notebook. So the next thing you need to do is, once you have you run, as I said, you run, you install R. The next thing you have to do is you need to install RStudio. So you go to RStudio website, and then you scroll down here. I think there should be possible somewhere to find where to find the link. This is RStudio Pro. This is not for you. Okay. Okay. Yeah, try RStudio. This is also not for you. This is paid version, so we don't need this. We want the free version of RStudio. Yeah. Okay. Maybe here. RStudio Desktop. So you need RStudio Desktop. So to install RStudio Desktop, you need, this one is a paid version. That's mainly for companies. Yeah, so you have to pay 995 per year. So you only need a free version for your desktop. I think the current version of RStudio should be 1.3 something, if I remember correctly. Then you can go here, download RStudio Desktop, and then again it's the same installation steps. Yeah, the same installation steps that you go through. Like RStudio Desktop, you download the one for free. You don't need RStudio Server. Again, depending on your platform, the platform you are using, Windows 10, Ubuntu, yeah, all these different operating systems. Or for the Mac, I can't see, I don't know which one is for the Mac, but yeah, I'm using Windows, so that means you just need, if you are using Windows, I will just need to click on this. Yeah, and that's all. Then once you download this, you need to install the same steps. You need to unzip it, and then you need to install it. Simple steps. Yeah. Okay. So once you install RStudio, the next thing is where to start. Where should you start? Okay, that's really a difficult question, because RStudio, I mean, R is a very big language. I mean, it has so many, you can do so many things with it. Because, as I said, it's a full-blown computer programming language. So, yeah, there are so many things you can do. So that means you need to start, you need to break down the things. What is your interest? Are you interested in data visualization? Are you interested in, let's say, statistical modeling? Are you interested in machine learning? Depending on that, you need to, yeah, you need to, yeah, divide your interest. Let's say if I'm interested in, from the start, let's say if I want to start learning R, the first thing I would recommend is I would recommend you to go through this book. What was this guy? I have this book actually, also the hard copy. I'm not sure you can see me. Yeah, I don't think you can see me, but I would have to show you. There is this R for data science. Yeah, R for data science. So this book, this is a good start. You can start with this book. It's free. It's completely available for free. You can go from. I think this book, the organization of this book, it starts with data visualization with ggplot2. I think the book is also written by. Yeah, the celebrity of R, basically, we can say, the guy who wrote several packages and who made our life so easy. So he is the author of this book, Hadley Wickham. So you can, it's completely freely available. And then if you want more advanced stuff, then you can advanced R. So you can also do this. This is also available for free. If you want, I can create a repository in GitHub, and then I can put all these resources where you can, and then in the future, maybe in, I don't know, in our in the coming sessions, maybe I can show you, once you learn a bit of the basics of R, I can show you something about GitHub mainly. So I'm using GitHub, let's say. So I will show you how GitHub works, because it's really very important tool, and every R user should know how to. Okay, that's my friend here. He's appearing here. Okay, so I have some projects here. I basically save my projects, and yeah. So this is really important. So you just need to go to GitHub and create an account and just start. And then after that, I will show you how to create a project. yeah, how to create a project, how to send a document to the repository. And let's say if you are if you have like two PCs, let's say one is in your office and the other one at home, you have a laptop. So what you can do is you can clone, you can create a project, and then you can clone it. So every time you go to office, you do something, you hit, you send it to GitHub. It's a cloud system. So you send it there, and then when you go home, you pull it down, and it will automatically be fetched in your PC. I will also show you this if I think in the future. This is one of the really important things. I can probably start from it, yeah, because I will put the resources. I will create a project for this particular training, and then I can put everything there, and then you can go to that Git link. Then you can you can download or download the resources. Okay. So once you start, once you have RStudio and R, that means you are very well set up. And then the next thing you need to do is, I think this is the main question you need to ask: how should I learn this thing very fast? How can I learn it? Because it's as I said, it has a lot of packages, more than, I think, I don't know how many packages there are. I think more than 70,000. How many packages are in R? Are there in R, for example? I think it's, I don't know, 13. Okay, more than 10,000 packages. So you cannot learn everything and master R. The only thing you need to know is how to help yourself. So you need to you need to know the tricks. You even don't need to learn things by heart. So I usually don't want to learn to remember things. So I mean, your brain has so much to remember, and then on top of that, you don't need to remember every little task. So what you need to do is how to really help yourself, because everything can be RStudio can help you. Let's say if you are writing some kind of script, RStudio you can just look at the arguments and things like that. So you don't need a lot of things to remember or to learn by heart. Yeah, so that's it. But let me show you something. Maybe the way our way of continuing, how we continue these sessions. I was interested in giving it only in a small audience, like using Zoom, but Zoom is not free. If I have to invite multiple participants, then I have to pay. Well, I cannot do that. So otherwise, I mean, the main thing I can do now is I can use either YouTube or Twitch or maybe Facebook streaming. So anyone interested can watch the live streaming and can ask questions. At the same time, anyone who is missing these sessions can also go back to the videos and watch them. Yeah. So what you can do is you can either do it in Facebook, as you may be watching here, or you can also go to YouTube. So I just created a channel in YouTube. Let's say this is something else. Maybe probably that's one of the videos that I have watched in the past. So you can go to my channel and then you can find this. So you can just type this and subscribe if you want. I mean, if you really find this helpful, then you can subscribe and follow follow my updates. I think that's what I recommend. But if you don't find it helpful, you are welcome to just watch and leave it. I'm not really interested in having subscribers or something. I'm just here to to share what I have, and that's all. That's my main goal. And then the other channel is I'm also using Twitch. I think you see in YouTube it's live. It's also in Facebook. It's live. I'm using multi streaming. So you can either, depending on your bandwidth, depending on your bandwidth strengths, if your internet is very good, you may use I don't know, depending in which platform is your internet very strong. So if you want, you can just use YouTube, or in Twitch. I'm not live now. I'm not live in Twitch, but I can also activate that. I think it should work, but I have some difficulties, like doing multi-channel live. It's a bit of headache. Yeah, but finally I figured out how it works. Yeah. So having said this, the next thing I need to show you is something which really helped me in the past. So that's I mean, when I start learning R, I think the first question I was asking was how to learn something fast. How to learn something fast. This was really very helpful video. So I can play this. It takes about 20 minutes. If you have patience, you can you can follow. But I found it really helpful. It's a TED Talk. So I'll make it full screen.
Hi everyone. 2 years ago, my life changed forever. My wife Kelsey and I welcomed our daughter Leela into the world. Now, becoming a parent is an amazing, amazing experience. Your whole world changes overnight, and all of your priorities change immediately, so fast that it makes it really difficult to process sometimes. Now, you also have to learn a tremendous amount about being a parent. Like, for example, how to dress your child. This was new to me. This is an actual outfit. I thought this was a good idea. And even Leela knows that it's not a good idea. So there was so much to learn and so much craziness all at once. And to add to the craziness, Kelsey and I both work from home. We're entrepreneurs. We run our own businesses. So Kelsey is develops courses online for yoga teachers. I'm an author. And so I'm working from home. Kelsey's working from home. We have an infant, and we're trying to make sure that everything gets done that needs done. And life is really, really, really busy. And a couple weeks into this amazing experience, when the sleep deprivation really kicked in, like around week 8, I had this thought, and it was the same thought that parents across the ages, internationally, everybody has had this thought, which is, I am never going to have free time ever again. And somebody said it's true. Yeah, it's not exactly true, but it feels really, really true in that moment. And this was really disconcerting to me, because one of the things that I enjoy more than anything else is learning new things. Getting curious about something and diving in and fiddling around and learning through trial and error and eventually becoming pretty good at something. And without this free time, I didn't know how I was ever going to do that ever again. And so I'm a big geek. I want to keep learning things. I want to keep growing. And so what I decided to do was go to the library and go to the bookstore and look at what research says about how we learn and how we learn quickly. And I read a bunch of books, I read a bunch of websites, and trying to answer this question, how long does it take to acquire a new skill? You know what I found? 10,000 hours. Anybody ever heard this? 10,000. It takes 10,000 hours. If you want to learn something new, if you want to be good at it, it's going to take 10,000 hours to get there. And I read this in book after book and website after website, and the my mental experience of reading all of this stuff was like, no, I don't have time. I don't have 10,000 hours. I am never going to be able to learn anything new ever again. But that's not true. So 10,000 hours, just to give you a rough order of magnitude, 10,000 hours is a full-time job for 5 years. That's a long time. And we've all had the experience of learning something new, and it didn't take us anywhere close to that amount of time, right? So what's up? There's something kind of funky going on here. What the research says and what we expect and have experiences, they don't match up. And what I found, here's the wrinkle. The 10,000 hour rule came out of studies of expert level performance. There was a professor at Florida State University. His name is K. Anders Ericsson. He's the originator of the 10,000 hour rule. And where that came from is he studied professional athletes, world-class musicians, chess grandmasters, all of these ultra-competitive folks in ultra-high-performing fields, and he tried to figure out how long does it take to get to the top of those kinds of fields. And what he found is the more deliberate practice, the more time that those individuals spent practicing the elements, whatever it is that they do, the more time you spend, the better you get. And the folks at the tippy top of their fields put in around 10,000 hours of practice. Now, we were talking about the game of telephone a little bit earlier. Here's what happened. An author by the name of Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book in 2007 called Outliers, the Story of Success. And the centerpiece of that book was the 10,000 hour rule. Practice a lot, practice well, and you will do extremely well. You reach the top of your field. So the message, what Dr. Ericsson was actually saying is, it takes 10,000 hours to get to the top of an ultra-competitive field in a very narrow subject. That's what that means. But here's what happened. Ever since Outliers came out, immediately came out, reached the top of the bestseller list, stayed there for 3 solid months. All of a sudden, the 10,000 hour rule was everywhere. And a society-wide game of telephone started to be played. So this message, it takes 10,000 hours to reach the top of an ultra-competitive field, became, it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. Which became, it takes 10,000 hours to become good at something. Which became, it takes 10,000 hours to learn something. But that last statement, it takes 10,000 hours to learn something, it's not true. It's not true. So, what the research actually says, if I spent a lot of time here at the CSU library in the cognitive psychology stacks, because I'm a geek. And when you actually look at the studies of skill acquisition, you see over and over and over a graph like this. Now, researchers, whether they're studying a motor skill, something you do physically, or a mental skill, they like to study things that they can time, because you can quantify that, right? So they'll give research participants a little task, something that requires physical arrangement or something that requires learning a little mental trick, and they'll time how long a participant takes to complete the skill. And here's what this graph says. When you start, so when researchers gave participants a task, it took them a really long time because it was new and they were horrible. With a little bit of practice, they get better and better and better, and that early part of practice is really, really efficient. People get good at things with just a little bit of practice. Now, what's interesting to note is that if, we don't really, for skills that we want to learn for ourselves, we don't care so much about time, right? We just care about how good we are, whatever good happens to mean. So if we relabel performance time to how good you are, the graph flips, and you get this famous and widely known, this is the learning curve. And the story of the learning curve is when you start, you're grossly incompetent and you know it, right? With a little bit of practice, you get really good really quick. So that early level of improvement is really fast. And then at a certain point, you reach a plateau, and the subsequent gains become much harder to get. They take more time to get. Now, my question is, I want that, right? How long does it take from starting something and being grossly incompetent and knowing it to being reasonably good in, hopefully, as short a period of time as possible? So, how long does that take? Here's what my research says. 20 hours. That's it. You can go from knowing nothing about any skill that you can think of. Want to learn a language? Want to learn how to draw? Want to learn how to juggle flaming chainsaws? If you put 20 hours of focused, deliberate practice into that thing, you will be astounded at how good you are. 20 hours is doable. That's about 45 minutes a day for about a month, even skipping a couple days here and there. 20 hours isn't that hard to accumulate. Now, there's a method to doing this, because it's not like you can just start fiddling around for about 20 hours and expect these massive improvements. There's a way to practice intelligently. There's a way to practice efficiently that will make sure that you invest those 20 hours in the most effective way that you possibly can. And here's the method. It applies to anything. The first is to deconstruct the skill. Decide exactly what you want to be able to do when you're done, and then look into the skill and break it down into smaller and smaller pieces. Most of the things that we think of as skills are actually big bundles of skills that require all sorts of different things. The more you can break apart the skill, the more you're able to decide what are the parts of this skill that will actually help me get to what I want, and then you can practice those first. And if you practice the most important things first, you'll be able to improve your performance in the least amount of time possible. The second is learn enough to self-correct. So get 3 to 5 resources about what it is you're trying to learn. Could be books, could be DVDs, could be courses, could be anything. But don't use those as a way to procrastinate on practice. I know I do this, right? Get like 20 books about the topic. It's like, I'm going to start learning how to program a computer when I complete these 20 books. No, that's procrastination. What you want to do is learn just enough that you can actually practice and self-correct or self-edit as you practice. So the learning becomes a way of getting better at noticing when you're making a mistake and then doing something a little different. The third is to remove barriers to practice. Distractions, television, internet, all of these things that get in the way of you actually sitting down and doing the work. And the more you're able to use just a little bit of willpower to remove the distractions that are keeping you from practice. Keeping you from practicing. The more likely you are to actually sit down and practice, right? And the fourth is to practice for at least 20 hours. Now, most skills have what I call a frustration barrier. You know, the grossly incompetent knowing it part. That's really, really frustrating. We don't like to feel stupid. And feel stupid barrier to us actually sitting down and doing the work. So, pre-committing to practicing whatever it is that you 20 hours, you will be able to overcome that initial frustration barrier and stick with the practice long enough to actually reap the rewards. All right, that's it. Science. 4 very simple steps that you can use to learn anything. Now, this is easy to talk about in theory, but it's more fun to talk about in practice. So one of the things that I've wanted to learn how to do for a long time is play the ukulele. Has anybody seen Jake Shimabukuro's TED Talk where he plays the ukulele and makes it sound like he's like an ukulele god? It's amazing. It's like I saw that. It's like, that is so cool. It's such a neat instrument. I would really like to learn how to play. And so I decided that to test this theory, I wanted to put 20 hours into practicing the ukulele and see where we got. And so the first thing about playing the ukulele is, in order to practice, you have to have one, right? So I got an ukulele, and my lovely assistant. Thank you, sir. I think I need the cord here. It's not just an ukulele, it's an electric ukulele. Yeah. So the first couple hours are just like the first couple hours of anything. You have to get the tools that you're using to practice. You have to make sure that they're available. My ukulele didn't come with strings attached. I had to figure out how to put those on. Like, that's kind of important, right? And learning how to tune and learning how to make sure that all of the things that need to be done in order to start practicing get done, right? Now, one of the things when I was ready to actually start practicing was I looked in online databases and songbooks for how to play songs. And they say, okay, ukuleles, you can play more than one string at a time, so you can play chords. That's cool. You're accompanying yourself. Yay, you. And when I started looking at songs, I had an ukulele chord book that had like hundreds of chords. Looking at this thing, like, whoa, that's intimidating. But when you look at the actual songs, you see the same chords over and over, right? As it turns out, playing the ukulele is kind of like doing anything. There's a very small set of things that are really important and techniques that you'll use all the time. And so in most songs, you'll use 4, maybe 5 chords, and that's it. That's the song. You don't have to know the hundreds as long as you know the 4 or the 5. So while I was doing my research, I found a wonderful little medley of pop songs by a band called Axis of Awesome. And somebody knows it. And what Axis of Awesome says is that you can learn, or you can play pretty much any pop song of the past 5 decades if you know 4 chords. And those chords are G, D, E minor, C. 4 chords, pump out every pop song ever, right? So I thought, this is cool. I would like to play every pop song ever. So that was the first song I decided to learn, and I would like to actually share it with you. Ready? All right. Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. She took the midnight train going anywhere. I heard that you settled down, that you found a girl, that you're married now. Every night in my dreams I see you, I feel you. That is how I know we'll go on. I won't hesitate no more. It cannot wait, I'm yours. 'Cause you are amazing. We did amazing things. If I could, then I would. I'll go wherever you will. And can you feel the love tonight? Live with or without you. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me. Sometimes I feel like I don't have a partner. No woman, no cry, I'm on the surely is a dream. I come from London under. Once a jolly swag man camped by a billabong. Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy. Now here's my number. to call me, hey, sexy lady. Whoop, 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 whoop 'em Gangnam Style. Time to say goodbye. Closing time. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Thank you. Thank you. I love that song. And I have a secret to share with you. So by playing that song for you, I just hit my 20th hour of practicing the ukulele. Thank you. And so it's amazing, pretty much anything that you can think of. What do you want to do? The major barrier to learning something new is not intellectual. It's not the process of you learning a bunch of little tips or tricks or things. The major barrier is emotional. We're scared. Feeling stupid doesn't feel good. In the beginning of learning anything new, you feel really stupid. So the major barrier is not intellectual, it's emotional. But put 20 hours into anything. Doesn't matter. What do you want to learn? You want to learn language? You want to learn how to cook? You want to learn how to draw? What turns you on? What lights you up?
We want to learn art.
Go out and do that thing. It only takes 20 hours. Have fun.
Thanks.
Great job.
Well, so that was my start. I really liked this video because it helped me to divide my tasks. Where should I start? What should I learn? Depending on my interest, because I cannot obviously learn everything. I think the most important thing is I need to learn the basics, and then after that I can I know how to help myself, because there are so many easy tricks which you can help yourself. That's what I want to show you. So the next thing probably is I would like to tell you something. Where did I start learning? I learned ggPro 2 first. This is one package for data visualization. But if I have to start from today, I wouldn't start from ggPro 2. I mean, it's kind of attractive. It's very attractive start because you see a very nice visualization, a very nice way of presenting data. But then there are so many other things that you will be missing from base R. So I would start from scratch, from base R, and then go to the advanced. So you start from let's say the basic, let's say addition, multiplication, and these are the very easy things. And then after that, you know how to read data in R, and then once you know, and then you see the structure, the type of how to know the type of variables, the type of data you have, whether you have a matrix or a data frame or a list or a tuple, and those kind of things are really important instead of jumping into data visualization. So it's a step-by-step approach is really important. And as you remember from the video, so you just need to have 20 congested hours. If you spend 20 really very focused 20 hours, then you would master most of the most important things. Otherwise, you don't need to learn everything by heart. So that's my advice. After that, I will, and then you remember he was mentioning about attitude. So the most important thing is your attitude. You need to have a growth mentality. You need to be, okay, well, I want to learn this thing. Then you can learn that quickly. I think that's my my experience. So the next thing I want to show you is I would like to go to RStudio. So first thing first, again, so I will bring RStudio to my screen, and then I can show you the very basic things. Okay, yeah, here is my RStudio. So it looks like this. This is not actually. Yeah, so it looks like this. I mean, you can change the pen, like how it appears. I mean, I prefer this version because I mean this kind of a black screen. This is not actually black; it's a blue black screen. But you can also change it in a. So you can just go here, global options, and then it should be somewhere here, appearance. So you can change. Yeah, anyway, I think it's better to start from the, yeah, how it looks like. So when you look at RStudio, you have this kind of structure. The first part, this that means the top left corner, the top left quadrant is the script. So this is where you start, where you write your script, your functions, whatever. Let's say if you want to add a number, for example, you can write, if you write hashtag, this is the hashtag sign. That means R will consider it as a comment. For example, add a number. So if you want, you can just do this, 1 plus 1. Or let's say multiply. You want to multiply. Then you can say, okay, 6 by 7, 6 star 7. And then, or square a number. Let's say you want to square it. Then you can write 7. The way you write square is this. You know this, not this one. Okay, sorry. Yeah, this one, 7 2. And then this is a place where you write your your scripts, and then this is a place where your output appears. So if you run something, let's say I'm adding 1 plus 1, where should the output start? I mean, it would appear. It will appear here. So if I 1 plus 1, then it will appear here. 2. You see this. So if you multiply 6 by 7, then it will appear here. Or if you square a number, 7 by 7, let's say, yeah, it will appear here. And then what is this one? This part is where you collect your objectives, your functions, and all those things. So let's say if you assign an object in R, the assignment operator is this sign. So this is, it's like minus sign. I mean, this less than sign with minus. So this is called my assignment operator. Because R is object-oriented programming, you always need to write something. I mean, assign an object. Let's say if I want to assign X is, let's say X equals 7. That means I'm assigning it. So if I run this, it will appear, X will appear here. So you see this? So X is here. So if I call X, let's say X is here, for example. Yeah, so you see this. And then this part is where, so I mean, in this part, again, I want to tell you, this is your environment, and this is the things that I run. This is a history, for example. I was running all these things. So this is, let's say, if you want to change something, or if your RStudio crashes and you want to retrieve something that you have already written and then it's lost, then you can go to this to the history, and then you can retrieve some of them, the ones you want. And then you have, this is a connection. If you want to connect, yeah, this is where you want. And these are the tutorials, because RStudio, it also has a tutorial. They have a Learn R package. This is really helpful package if you want to learn R. So you can also have a look at this, how this, yeah, basically it gives you overview of how you can analyze data, how you call objectives, how you install a package, those kind of things. And this is at the top. This is your file. I'm doing this because I assume you have no experience with RStudio. So, but if you have, maybe I can also skip. These are really the basic things. Can skip them and then start with more advanced things. And this is where, if you want to start a new script, so you can write so many things. Let's say you can write R script. R script is the one I have, for example. But if I want R Markdown, let's say R Markdown is something where you can write your script and then knit it and then change it into Word or PDF in so many different formats, or HTML, those kind of documents. And then you can also directly publish it in a website. So R Markdown is really, really important. And then you have Shiny Web App. This is really one of the very helpful feature of RStudio, where if you want to, let's say, develop a dashboard, or you analyze your data and then you want to develop a dashboard where you can actually help people who are not into coding, you can use this. But that's really something advanced, so we will not go through this. Then you can also write Python script. Actually, we are not going to do it here, but yeah. And then the next is edit. Let's say if you delete something and then you want to edit, you want to undo, so you can do this. At the same time, you can also use like Ctrl+Z and things like that. And the most important thing, this assignment operator, I mean, writing this less than sign and then minus is probably a bit boring, because you need to hit two keyboards. What you can do is you can press Alt plus minus sign, and then it's like easy. It's one keyboard. I mean, it's two keyboards, but you can do it in one instead of going into minus sign and less than sign. So you can just press Alt and then and there you go. And then this is build, is to build a website. If you write all the CSS and HTML and every file, then you can build. That's this is a debug. Is if you have an error on your script, that's where you debug your errors in your code. And then these are the profiles. I don't use it. You actually don't use it much, but yeah, you may need. And then if you want to install package, because I mean already base R has so many things inbuilt, but sometimes you need to install something additional, because everything in R, I mean, as I said, we have more than 10,000 packages, so you cannot have everything in one. So you need to. That's also not really memory efficient. So what you can do is you can install the package. Then if you want to install a package, you can write it this way, like let's say you go here, tools, install package, and then you determine the source. There are some package sources, let's say cran, and here package archive. Let's say if you have it in your desktop, if you save it, and then you can download it from the file, like gz, zip, or tar. These are the file inding. Then you can install it. This is where package archive, if you store somewhere in your downloads or things like that, and then you can directly install it. Then this is where you need to install it, because you need to create a path. Actually, when you install R and RStudio, you will automatically have a path, so you don't need to do anything here. In some cases, you may need to manipulate your path, otherwise the path doesn't matter. So if you want to check, for example, the live path, I can write simply live path, and then I can see, sorry, I don't need the bracket, I think. No, okay, I made a mistake. So typing error. Live, not live. So I can write live path. Yeah, because it's already predicting. So, and then you can write. So I have two paths, for example. So these are my two folders where I can I install my package, because I have two different R versions, because I have R 4.0 and 4.03. I can actually run, I have two different R versions, but I can only run one R version in RStudio. But if you want to change, let's say if you have multiple different versions of R installed on your PC, and let's say if a package is not available, let's say for the earlier version or later version, so you install it depending on the version you want, and then you can, let's say, you can change your R session. For example, I'm running R.03, but if you want, you can also change it to R4.0, 4.0, and then, yeah, depending on your, your interest. But that comes after knowing the basics again. Well, and then if you want to install something, you can also do it with this, install package. Let's say if you want to install something, install package, and then you have package name. Package name. For example, if I want to install Pacman, Pacman is a package where you can install or load multiple libraries. You can just write this Pacman and then run this code. Yeah, now it's running. It's already installed. But once you install something, so you need to remove this code, because otherwise, whenever you want to reproduce your script, it will always be reinstalling again, and that will take time, and it will offload some of it, because it will be replaced, or maybe depending on the updates, it may be a new version added on your library, which will accumulate on your memory and slow down your PC. Then if you just install it, what you can do is you can either comment it, or you can just ignore it delete it from your script. And if you want to upload it, you can write like library Pacman. Let's say I have Pacman, then you say Pacman. Yeah, I already have it, but it's giving me some warning. But this is some ignorable warning, because it's telling me Pacman was built in R version R.04. But my version is, I think my version is 4.03. So if I want to know my version, I can just write this, then I have my version. So I have 4.03, but this package was built for R version 4.04. But it doesn't matter, I can still run Pacman in my RStudio. And if you want to install, let's say upload multiple packages, you can write Pacman and then load, I think, if I remember correctly. Okay, Pacman install. Say, yeah, we don't have this. I think otherwise you can also do it this way. Pacman. If you want, you can write question mark. Okay, or I can do here package. Here you can search here. How does it read? Okay, Pacman. Yeah, this is how it's written, and then I found it. Let's say if you click here, if I click, I'm detaching it. Detaching it, it means I'm removing it from my loaded library. But if I click, that means I'm loading it again. So you can also detach and attach a library. Sometimes you may have conflicting package. One package may be conflicting with the other. So if that happens, then you need to unload the other. So that this detach command is really very important. Otherwise, you can also search here. They have a search bar where you can simply write the package and then untick this. Because if it is ticked, that means it's loaded. But if you untick it, you can unload it. Yeah. And then coming back to the appearance of RStudio, this is where your files are saved. Let's say you can access I can access all my PC directly from here. So if you want, what you can do is you can look at all your files. Let's say if I want, I mean the most important thing here is like before you start, let's say if you are running a script or loading a data, let's say Excel or CSV, then the most important thing is you need to set your working directory. That's a really important thing. But you can also, before that, you need to know the get working directory. You need to know where is this script it's actually being saved. So for that, you need to get working directory. This is really important command. So no other user should should forget this get working directory. This is key. And that means, let's say in my working directory, I have in my documents, in the document tab, because it's a different language. I don't know, but it's saved like that. Yeah, so if I run something, for example, if the file is not available here, let's say if my file is not available in this folder, and then if I load it, let's say if I have an Excel file or CSV, and if I load this file, and if the file is not available in this folder, so R will not find it. Then it will give you an error. It will show you an error. Then it will give you, okay, I cannot find the connection, or I cannot find the file where you what you said. Yeah. So for that, you need to make sure to set your working directory. To set working directory, there are some ways. Let's say set working directory. That's one command, set working directory, and then you can write it in a quote, in this quote, and then you can write the path. Yeah, there are some ways which you can do. Let's say if I want, for example, let's say if I want my downloads folder to be my working directory, I can go to my downloads folder, and then I can have, let's say if I copy the path, yeah, if I copy path, or simply you can also come here, and then you can simply, maybe not here, okay, let me find something somewhere, a different library. Okay, let's say if I want my desktop to be my working directory, I can copy this, and then I can paste it here. So if I run this, I will have an error. Why? I will tell you. Yeah, this is giving me an error. Why? Because R doesn't recognize this backward slash. This backward slash. Either you need to make it 2 times backward slash, like this. Let's say I need to write this way in every. This is really boring. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I also missed the quotation mark. Now I don't have an error. You see, I don't have an error message. Maybe I need to increase, I think, the view. You may have, I need to zoom it out. Yeah. So then you can see better. Zoom out. Oh, zoom in or zoom out? Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah, zoom in is making it bigger. Yeah, zoom in. Yeah. Now you can have a better control. There is this way which you can install. I mean, you can set your working directory. Otherwise, you can also use this and then replace this with forward slash. The backwards, if it is a single backward slash, it doesn't work. But you need to use either double backward slash, or yeah, or this forward slash sign. Now it should work. If I run it, it should work. Yeah, it's working. And then the other, which probably for SPSS users, it might be quite handy, is where you can go directly here. You see this. There are 3 dots next to the place where you have your plots, your package and help viewer, and that you can click that. If you click that, you will it will open your file explorer. This is file explorer, so it will open your file explorer, and then you go out here, and then you open desktop, open, and then once you have that, you go to more here, and then you can simply say set as working directory. So now I also have it. I usually do this differently, because I sometimes need to, yeah, I need to like go navigate throughout my files and find where my folder is, those kind of things. It's a little bit boring. So what I do is I need to do it quickly. So to do it quickly, I have an extension. So that's actually called Pass Copy. You can install it. It's free. It's called Pass Copy Copy. So you can go. I have it in GitHub. So you can go there, and then you can install it. So what you can do is you can simply Google Pass Copy Copy, and then you get this page, and then you see view on GitHub, and then you can install this. They have it here. Where is it? Okay, probably it's they probably have changed it. Yeah, okay, here the latest release, you can grab it here. The latest release, for example, is 19, so you can simply copy this one, download this, and then simply, as you usually install any program, you can just install, you can copy this and then install it. Once you have that, your PC will detect will detect this in your Windows Explorer. Let's say if I want, sorry, I need to go back to RStudio, and then I also need to display my my file explorer. And then let's say if I want my desktop to be the working directory, what I can do is I can simply say go to desktop and then come here, pass copy, and that's Unix pass. I go to this pass copy and then Unix pass. Actually, once you install, you may need to do a few tricks here. You go to setting, and then it gives you few options to add some setting. For some reason, my setting is not coming. Yeah. Anyway, you can add this pass copy, Unix pass, so that it appears on the list instead of going into this. You can access it here, but otherwise you can directly access it here. So I can just simply copy it, and then simply I can write set working directory in brackets, and have in quotes and write this. Then I can simply run it. Simple. I usually use this one. I prefer this option. But you can also use this one. For me, it's kind of boring to navigate all my files, especially if you are in a network, for example, where there are so many file locations. Then you will probably struggle finding the right location. Instead, you can go to the folder. You might open it before you even start R, and then and then maybe the most important thing is to do when you run something. Before you run something, you always have to write your R session. So you always, because reproducibility is the most important thing in R. So you need to write your R session, and then package loaded. And when you write your, let's say, your analysis script, you need to write the package loaded R session, and sometimes you may need to also, like a working directory is very important, because that's where your files are. Otherwise, people cannot reproduce your code because they don't know where you save your file. Then, yeah, that's a very important step. These are the really key steps. Then once after you have that, yeah, you can let's say I have already set my working directory, and then let's say if I want to read a file, let's say okay, do I have Excel file here? I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. No, this one is not Excel file. Yeah, anyway, yeah. Maybe the last few things that I want to tell you. Yeah, it's some of the really helpful functions, how to help yourself. Let's say if you want to say help yourself, you don't need to know things by heart. So what you can do is there are really helpful functions. One is question mark, the other one is help. These are really helpful functions, and then you may also have example. There is also example function. Let's say if I want to know about linear model, LM, or maybe linear model is something advanced, but if I want, maybe not, but if I want a linear model, for example, I can simply write question mark and LM, and then it gives me what I need to do LM. So it gives you what you need to run LM. So it gives you here LM. What is LM? It's a linear. It means linear model. Then you have the formula, how you write your formula. It will give you also at the end what you do. Let's say formula. You need the data. If you want to subset it, for example, then the weight. If you have missing values, you may need to remove them from your analysis or drop them. And then you have the method. Let's say if you want QR, and there are also other methods. Yeah, but usually you don't need much of this. You don't need every argument to write in your function, in your command. Anyway, what I want to show you here is the question mark function. That's really important. If you are confused, okay, what is LM? And then you say, okay, generalized linear model. What is generalized linear model? You can write this. Okay, and then you see, you can read some of the things. If you want to run GLM, the first thing, let's say if I want to run GLM, I don't need to know things by heart. The first thing I need to do is I will ask R. I will ask RStudio and it will give me advice. That's how I do it. And then let's say if you want ggplot, what is ggplot2? You can write question mark and then ggplot2. You can write it that way. Equivalently, you can do it with help. Help and question mark, they result the same thing. Let's say help. Let's say if you want to know the structure of data. Let's say structure is one function. Oh, okay. Structure, maybe no. Okay, maybe I can use let's say dplyr, for example. Help me about dplyr. Yeah. Yeah, this is it gives you the description of the package. At the same time, you can also go through all the links which you can browse. Yeah, and the helpful vignettes, the main let's say what is included in dplyr. Okay. There should be a way to find also. Oh, okay, let's see this. If you want, you can see this. It directly opens into your browser, and it shows you the keywords or the main functions and what it does, what the functions do. Yeah. And then the other one, very helpful function, is example. This is really handy again. So it's, thankfully they do this. They let's say if you want an example of linear model, let's say you can write example LM. Then if you write this, it will automatically create data, and then it will run the function, and then it will give you all the regression output. So you get this. I just write example. So and then once you write example LM, so it gives you so it automatically creates data. How does it create the data? So it creates C. I will come back to this, and then it will give you like TRT and these values, and the group is here, and the weight because it's linear model, and then it combines the CTR and then with TRT. I have no idea what TRT and CTL is. Then it does a linear model of weight as a function of group. So weight to the function of group, and then it creates this, yeah, this kind of regression model. And then you have the group, and you have the formula at the end. You have the summary of yeah, all the models that you want. Also, if you want the fit, the residual and the fitted plots, you can see the plots here. So it's appearing, yeah. So you see these are the normal QQ plot, but this one we will come back when we talk about how you do linear model, how you check assumptions, yeah, and things like that. Okay, probably another example is okay. Let's say example linear. Yeah, the other one is the most important functions is like these verbs is phrases like is numeric, or is factor, or is vector, or is list. Yeah, and then type. Let's say what is type of, actually it's not type is in Python, in R is type of, yeah. And then if you want to convert like something saved in numeric, if you want to make it a factor, let's say if sex is saved as 1 and 2, let's say 1 is male and female is 2 or something, if it is saved like that and then it's numeric, then you need to change it to factor. So what you can do is as factor, you can write it as factor, and then you can write your variable. That's how you do it. But let me show you something. Let's create a data. Let's say if you want to create a data, you can do this. Let's say sex is concatenate, like a female. What you do is, because it's a string, strings to objects are written in quote. Usually you can either use single quote or double quote, it doesn't matter. Male, let's say the first observation is female, the next is male, the next observation is male, and then the other observation is female. Yeah, things like that. And then you have female again. Let's say the next variable is age. Say age. Let's say the first observation is 23. Second, because you don't need quotation marks, because if you add quotation marks, that means you are telling R to save it as a string object. But this one is integer, because age is integer. Then you can write 23 for all of these observations, and then you can say 34, 56. No, 6, for example, 4 years of age, 5. How many observations do we have on the first one? In the 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we also need these 5 observations, otherwise we may have difficulties combining them. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we don't have a problem. So then the third variable, maybe we can write, okay, yeah, education, for example. Education. Can write C. First one is bachelor degree. Second one has master's, MA, for example. Third one, MSc, PhD, and bachelor. Okay, and then let me repeat bachelor again. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 5. So we are done. So what you can do is you can run this, and that means if I go back to my environment, all these variables are saved as objects. So you see I have sex here, I have group, education, yeah, and so on. And these are the other variables that were created when I was running example. So if I want to create a data frame, I can concatenate all of this. But because let's say if I write what type of data is sex, for example, here. So you can, yeah, it's character. It's telling me it's character. Let's say, what type of data is age? It should be double. Double means it's integer or it's numeric. Let's say if I do education, then it tells you it's character again. Yeah, that's how we do it. Now what I want to do is I want to concatenate these 3 variables and then create a variable, like a data frame. A data frame is like, imagine how Excel file looks like. On top of it, you have the variable names for each column. You have the variable names, and then on the left side, on the rows, you have the observations or the cases. So that's how it is. So let's say, let me save it as data. But I don't want to save it as data because data is already inbuilt in R. So I should not use the same name. So otherwise it will have difficulties. I mean, well, you can save it, but you will have difficulties sometime because it will be conflicting with the inbuilt function, because data is an inbuilt function in R. So that means if I save an object with the name data, then later when I call it, you will have confusion whether am I calling my data object or the function object. Then this is not really, yeah, this is really, you need to be very careful here, because you may write your yeah, anyway. Okay, data, let's say, let me call it dat. So R is predicting what kind of, am I looking for data entry, data class, matrix, data frame, yeah, and so on. And the data explorer, these are the package to explore. For example, like missing data. Data paster is like to paste. You copy somewhere, and then you paste it. Yeah, and then date. There are many functions with DATA, so that's why it's predicting the next character. Then I will press Alt plus minus sign. I will assign this object. How do I do it? I concatenate the rows and the columns. What I can do is I can cbind. I can use cbind. As always, you can ask, what is cbind? What is cbind? Okay. What cbind does is what does it say? Take a sequence of vectors, matrix or data frame, arguments, and combine by columns or rows. So it combines objects. Let's say the objects could be a vector. I mean, these are vectors. That means it's kind of one-dimensional data. But you can combine them. You can merge them. You can concatenate. So cbind. Concatenate, but I don't know whether C is concatenate, but I always read it as concatenate. Probably that's right. And then you can write sex, age, and then education. Yeah. So now if you run it, you have that. And still, let's say if I run it, I have this. You see, sex, age, education. So you have female 23. It's exactly the way I wanted it. So I created the data, for example, here. Then let's say what is type of dat? What is it? What kind of object is it? So if I want, so it's still I have a problem because it's saved as character. So to make that, I need to do something. So what I can do is I can write dat. Still, I can replace it as a new object, or you can also replace it as different object. But depending on your interest, if you replace it, that means you are gonna lose the way the original data is written here, at least in this case. But it's, I mean, everything is outside. I mean, within R, we didn't call anything. If you want to be back, we just need to rerun. Yeah, otherwise you can just use that and then convert it to data frame. What you can do is you can write this This is another helpful function. I give you the it's called pipe operator. Pipe operator. It's like a piping. You can connect objects, or you can connect things together, maybe objects, arguments, or anything. So the way you write it is like you need to press. Yeah. Wait. I need to write the way you press it is like you need to press Control plus Shift plus. I think for Windows users this is quite easy because they shift and I don't know how it is in Mac, but for Windows users this is easy because Shift and Control key are next to each other, and then you can write M. Then you can easily have this sign, this pipe operator. So if I write this, for example, I can. It's so quickly. I mean, I can do it quickly. Yeah. Instead of like going into percent and then coming down to greater than sign and then going to percent, this is really, it takes a lot of time. So what I want to do is I want to convert this character object because my dat is character. I want to convert it to as data frame, because the data frame is really important to do my, my data manipulations. So you can do here as data frame. Yeah, you can do this. Otherwise, let me save it as a different object. Let's say underscore. Okay, this is okay. That I have a problem because my cap is on, so I can't write. Yeah, okay, my keyboard, German keyboard. Okay, that A. Let's say I save it as .a, or I mean this way I convert it into data frame. For example, if you look at this, this is how it appears. I mean the one here is character, you see this CHR, but here I have changed it into data frame. That means it's giving me, I have 5 observations and 3 variables. So if I click this, I get this. I mean it's kind of similar with the original object, but the way the data is saved is different. I probably need to save things correctly, otherwise I will have yeah, because I was writing it differently because I want to run or maybe it's fine because you can debug it later. Yeah, let me do it again, and then yeah. All right, that's what I have. And then let me have a look. Dat. So data A. Dat A is a data frame. Let's say if I can ask what type of object is it, you can write dat. I mean type of dat A. Yeah. RStudio is giving me the shortcut. It's still telling me it's a list, but that shouldn't matter, I think. Let me run it and then, okay. Maybe I need to save it as dat.b. Then data frame. Yeah, it's here, data frame. And then let me call it as dat. Let me check if this works. Okay, this is duplicated, but this one should work. I think it's already data frame because we can see if we are able to manipulate things. If you call, for example, .a and then %sign, or maybe you can also do this way. You can simply write as data frame and then put the object here. That's also possible. Type of dat, it's still its list. Okay, .a. No, we don't have data. We have dat. .a, and then you can write %sign. I mean this $sign, and then you have a list of all the variables that you created. For example, that means I'm accessing the variables within this object or within this data frame. So I can call, for example, sex, and then see if I run, for example, it will print all the objects, or I mean all the values of the variable 6 that I have. Let's say if I want to know the values, you can also see tables. This is really another important function that you need to know. That a 6, yeah, so I have, it's counting. I have 3 females and 2 males, but I can also pipe it and then do proportion. If I want to do proportion, I can simply pipe it and then do proportion and see 0.6 and 0.4. The same I can also do, okay. You can see that a, then education. So if I do education, so I get this. So you see bachelor, bachelorette. So that means I made a mistake. So this is the way you can see the errors that you made. So let's say if I want to change, what I can do, I mean probably this is not the next step that I do, but I can easily convert it using if else function, but that's not the steps that I want at this time. I will show you another step, because this is I'm just showing the really basic things. But if you want, you can also do, let's say age. Age is a numeric variable. You can do and you can calculate the mean. That age, you can do this. Okay, what is this? Okay, because it's not numeric. Age is not numeric. So if you check the type, it's not numeric, it's character. So that means I need to convert it to numeric. So what I can do is I can either go back to my dat here, dat a, age, and then as numeric, then dat a, age. So then if I run this, it will convert that variable to that character variable or string variable into numeric. It will convert it that way. Otherwise, if you really want a short-term interest, like a short term, before, I mean, you only want to see, what you can do is you can just simply see mean, and then you can pass this, simply pass the whole thing here. It's not really kind of, maybe you can do like this so that you can easily read it. If it makes sense like this, some people would like to do it this way, just to make it more readable. But you can also, yeah, I mean, RStudio will give you, let's say if I miss one blank, I mean one bracket, it will show me an error. It should show me an error. Let's say, otherwise it's not working here. Well, okay, I missed a bracket, for example. If I run it, it will not finish. It will simply wait for me until I finish the syntax, because R waits for me to finish this. What I can do is, I mean, let's say if you run something here, you don't see any output. Let's say if I run, I don't see any anything. So because I still have error because I made a mistake here. So you see, it's getting plus. This sign is really, you need to be very careful. If you have this plus sign and there is nothing happening, that means your code has some error. So then what you need to do is you need to stop it, to stop from waiting forever. Otherwise it's waiting forever. So to stop it, you just need to press escape key. So that means you stopped it. Now I want to go back to the mean function. Mean as numeric dot age. I checked, and then I remember I forgot this bracket. Then I go back to my script, and then I write the bracket sign. Then you can now see the mean. So you see 24.4. It's showing you 24.4, a mean of 24.4. But if you want to see again, if you want to see, let's say, standard deviation, I can simply copy the whole thing and then see standard deviation. Yeah. So that means the standard deviation is a 21.7. Yeah. What else can we do? Okay. Sex we have already done. Let's say, yeah, we haven't converted the variable to age, and then still sex is a character. We also need to convert it. Let's say if you write type of that, no, I put two brackets, that a that sex, so it will give me, it's a character, so I need to convert this because it's a factor variable, so you need to convert this to factor variable. So what you can do is like as factor. It's so simple. You just simply mention as factor, and then in bracket you mention the object because we are replacing it. But as always, you can also do this. Let's say sex factor. You can save it in a different object and then call this. If you don't want to replace the original sex variable, you can. That means we are creating a new variable. That means we are like creating a new variable, based on the observations. I mean, based on the variables you have. You can either do this or save it. Let's say if I do this, now I will have 4 variables. You see, something changed here because now I have sex saved as a factor. And yeah, see, education, sex, yeah, and then sex factor. Now with that, I can call the table function and see. I mean, it was working also with without changing it to the factor. But if you really want to, let's say, put it in your model or something, then you really need to be very careful and change it to a factor variable. Otherwise, it will not be part of your model. It will spit an error. Yeah. And let's say maybe error, debugging an error. That's a really very important step that you need to do, debugging an error. Let's say I made a mistake. Let's say when I run something, maybe if I run here, for example, let me drop a few values, few more values. Let's say I have NA, for example, that means missing value, and then the next object is male, for example, or female. Then let's say I have another object, another observation was BA or BSC. Then let me rerun the whole thing, and then again here dot a dot type dot 6. Yeah, so I can save it. Yeah, so let's say if I call, let's say if you remember, if I call this, it will not work. Let's say mean as numeric age. How I have NAs? Because it doesn't work. Why? Because I have, if you have this kind of value, this kind of error, you can ask, is NA, is there any missing value? That means is it missing? So you can check like this. Yeah, so that means it will give you, the response is logical. So logical means it goes through every observation. So the first one is not missing. The second one, I mean, the first one doesn't have any missing. The second one doesn't have, and then it goes all of the steps, and then it gives you the final the final step. It gives you true. The final value is missing. So you have, so to access that particular, so you can do this. I think it should be, well, in Python it should be like this, but in R it should be, I'm not exactly sure, but it should be with, okay, yeah, then I made a mistake. Okay, it's like this, I think. Maybe let me do it this way. No, okay. Anyway, if you want to access, or you can also do sum, for example. You want to count the number of missing values. Let's say, how many missing values do you have? I have one missing value. But if I want the mean, because my interest is calculating the mean, so what I can do is, like, I can call mean dot age, then I need to find out mechanisms to remove that missing value. So I can do NA-RM, that means remove missing value, and then you can either write T, that means true, or you can write the whole thing. I usually use T because it means true. Let's say if I want to assign false, I can simply write FT or F. T means true, F means false. That makes me quick rather than writing the whole thing, true or false. It's the same in Python. You would also write true. In Python would be like a proper case. You write the first capital of you write the first letter of the word true as capital, then the rest would be as a small letter. False would also be the same, as F would be capital and the rest would be false. But I don't want to confuse you. You can simply write in uppercase letters either T or F. If it is false, you can write T. If it is true, you can write T. So if I write this now, I should have the mean value. So that means I have it, because before I didn't have it. Let's say if I run this, if I remove this, it will give me NA. Yeah. So I will go back and undo. You can write simply Control Z, or yeah, it's just basic thing. I think you know it. Okay. Now maybe let me add something like height, for example, and weight, and then we will calculate BMI. I think it's better. Height, let's say height in centimeter. It should be in centimeter, right? When you calculate BMI. So you so you write, let's say the first one is C, concatenate 1.7, 1.3. Okay, maybe it's too short. How old are they? Okay, 4, 5. 34 would be 1.7. This last one would 1.8, and maybe third one 1.7. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's let's say 90 centimeters. No, 90 centimeters would be, I don't actually know how it. Okay, 1.3, and then the last one, let's say he or she is, I think she is 1.8 meters. Okay. Then we need weight variable. C, let's say first one is 70 kilograms, third one 65, 56. Okay, it's just to make it more sense, because this is 4 years of age. At 4 years of age, maybe 15 kilograms. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth one would be, let's say 17. The last one is 90 kilos. Yeah. This is one. Let's make it 1.6. Now we run it again. We run it, and then we have to change it also these variables into numeric. Maybe, yeah. You can either do one by one. Let's say I'm doing it one by one. You see my cursor is going down when I'm running each line. Yeah. Now I need to calculate BMI. So how do you calculate BMI? Okay. So there is the way you can create you can either calculate with a function. Maybe that one is maybe that one is the thing that we need to do later. Like calculating, writing a function is something that we need to do in the future. But I don't want to show you now because we are doing really the basic stuff. But then once we know the if, the else, the loop, the while, and the for loop, then we will be able to do functions. Yeah. BMI is calculated as BMI equals, it's calculated as height, weight in kilogram divided by height in meters. Maybe I can do, let me save this in centimeters instead. Then I can have more calculations. Let's say 160. We will do this, and then I will finish. I will not go further. We can continue next time. Then let me save this. 130 height in centimeters. See, 190. It was 190. Okay. Now I will run it. Yeah. Okay. So now I go back to my BMI. So to calculate BMI, what I can do is I can save this, bring this object that a BMI equals. How is it calculated? First, I need to define my equation. Let me just write as a comment. BMI equals height, weight in kilograms, weight in kilograms divided by height in centimeters. Height in centimeters, no, in meters, sorry. Height in meter square. This is how it is calculated. So to do that, I can do like that. What is the weight? I have the weight variable. Okay, it's not there yet. Okay, I didn't concatenate it here, so I need to make sure everything is concatenated. Yeah, here. Then I can call this. Okay. Now I run everything and I need to make sure that height and weight are stored as numeric variables. But that one we can do it. If this one gives us error, then we can go back and debug it. So height in kilograms, weight in kilograms means the weight. It should my RStudio should be able to identify this variable now. I have weight, that's weight in kilograms, divided by height, and that's dot. I have my dot A, and the next variable is weight, and that means I will need to square it. That's it. Probably I can do this. I can make a bracket. Then I will have either an error or an output. Now I have an error because my variables, the height and the weight, they are not stored as numeric. So to do that, I need to do to save them. Either I need to change them here as numeric, or I need to save them as I need to convert them in my variables. So I can change this as numeric, and then that's the weight. The next one is height. Yeah, that one also I need to save it as numeric. So as numeric, again you have it here. Now it should work. I can run it, then it should work now. So now you have 7 variables. If I go to the BMI section, okay, because I still didn't divide it by 100, because I need to divide it by 100. So you see the BMI value, I was using height in centimeters, but I need to, you see the output. Usually you run something and you always see your data. That's really important. Otherwise you save your object and you cannot go, you cannot leave it, because you may have made a mistake. So you see I made a mistake because my height variable, actually this is not height, this is weight still. My height variable is saved as okay, argument to binary operator. Yeah, okay, because I didn't change this variable again. Yeah, okay. So you see, you need to, yeah, make sure how your variables are saved. Then you go back and see, still I have a problem because BMI is not in this range. You know, BMI is like 19, 20 or 30 something. It's always like that, but I have like 0. Why I have this mistake, this error, because it's I'm using the centimeter, so I need to convert it to meters. So to do that, I can simply divide this by 100 and then square it. For us, probably R would possibly manage this, but for us, we add more brackets so that you know, this BODMAS rule, that bracket addition. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. You can have a look. But yeah, so once we have it, we can run it. Now we should have the right BMI calculations. So you see, we have like 24, 25, 10. Then yeah, because the age is 4 years old, it even has a PhD, so it's wrongly, things are assigned wrongly. So this is not really, because this is a fake data. Yeah, anyway, this is how you do it. There are also other ways. This is the way base R to do, to create a new variable to record. Let's say we have record, create new variable. I mean, we just saw how to create new variable. This is how to create new variable, and how to change our data type to numeric or factor, from factor to numeric. But you also need so many things. Let's say you may need to classify height. Let's say height into tall, short, or weight, overweight, underweight, or age into a certain category, like less than 20, teenagers, old, or something. Yeah, there are so many things you can do for your analysis. That's one we will see in our coming sessions. But this is really, I assume that you have no clue, you have no experience in R, so that's why I started from scratch. But these are really the basic things that you need to know to jumpstart R. I advise when you go home, I mean, you can I assume every one of you have R and RStudio. Otherwise, if you don't have RStudio, you can also do everything in Google Colab, as I said. Let me remind these things. This is really handy tool. This is really, you don't even need, you can even do it in your phone. You can run R on your phone. You can just Google Colab. That's not actually the first step you need to do. You can run, simply ask Google, Google Colab, run R. Yeah, let's say you want to run, and then you go to this Stack Overflow page. Then you see somebody has asked this question. There are many ways to do to make to run R in Google Colab. Google Colab is mainly designed for deep learning and machine learning, and for Google. They designed it for them mainly to run Python, but they also made it possible for us so that we can use it for running R. So to go this, I'm sure you will find this Stack Overflow page. This is really a very good place to learn R. Yeah, and then you go to this link. You simply hit this link, and then Google Colab will lead you to R, so that you can run anything. So let's say I can copy the whole thing. For example, what we did here, I can just simply copy the whole thing, and then go to my, okay, here we are here. Yeah, this is my script, but I can also add new codes. Let's say I want to create the first one. Okay, no, I didn't create the whole, I didn't text the whole of, my whole list of variables. So I need to go back and text the whole thing. Yeah. The really nice thing about Google Colab, of course, you need the Gmail to have access to Google Colab, but you can run it on your phone. Let's say when you go around, or when you sit in a taxi, or in a transportation or something, or when you are sitting somewhere in a park, you can simply open your phone instead of playing on chatting with someone. Or you may also need to chat, but you can, if you want to learn R, as I said, as the guy suggested, you need to be really you need to have a very that attitude that you want to learn. You want to learn it. You want to do your analysis with R, because this is really something that you will need to use. That's really very important. So so for that, Google Colab is really very, very handy tool. So just for the management, I can I take some of the codes to the next line, so that it will not be here. It's just for readability. And then you can also take some of this. Oh, there must be something that I missed. Okay. For the next one, this is the variable that I one character, I missed one character. And then for this one, let's say I can take until here and then put it here. Maybe that's enough, but I can also take the rest to the next line. Now I can simply, because I can connect it, I need to connect it so that I can have access to it. It will give me 12 GB RAM, 12 GB. It's especially if you have a machine like less than 8 GB, then this is really it's a godsend tool for you. Yeah, and you can run this. You can run it. This is independent of my machine. It's completely in Google Colab. It's like running Google Doc or Google Excel thing. So and then you can run line by line, and it's list it's giving me. Now again, okay, could not find function list. It doesn't know this function. So for that, we need to either call magneter package or dplyr. So for that, we need to call this package, but I will show you that in the future, because this is really the most important. This is actually one of the things that makes a difference between Python and R. This dplyr, it's really, yeah, one of the most important packages in your life in R. Okay, yeah, okay, because I didn't write the comment, so then I will have error. Yeah, so that's it. So I have BMI. Let's say if I want mean BMI, if mean BMI is the right, yeah, so you can do this. Yeah, here 18.7 is the mean BMI. If you want standard deviation, you can just write SB. Google Colab also gives you, let's say, if you write SD, you see it's predicting the next, it's giving you the next function, what you are going to write. Let's say, if I write filter, because I already loaded, then it will give me filter. Then you can write this, and then you can write shift plus tab. Nah, okay, it's not doing it. Okay, then if I write mean, for example, then you can press shift plus tab. No, it's not working, but it should work. Yeah. Okay. So these are really the basic things. So I advise starting from the basics, installing R and RStudio, and then going to these some of these really very easy things like concatenate, creating a list of variables. I mean a list of values for a certain observation, for a certain variable, and then concatenating them, asking R what type of variable is it, whether it's numeric or a factor or character or string. Then you need to write this type of. It's simple. Then if you want to concatenate these variables and make a data frame, you can use cbind. Then you can make it a data frame. A data frame is something which looks like your Excel table, which the variable appears on top and the observations on the rows. These are this $sign. That's also a very important sign that you need to know. If you want to call the variable, this is the object, and then the object has variables. So if you want to call the object, then you need to use the $sign. Then after that, you can create table. If you want to know the proportion, you can connect it with prop table. Then age was stored as a string or a character, but you want to convert it to numeric, so you need to use as numeric. If you want to change it to a factor, for example, sex was stored as a character, I was using as factor. But you can also ask, like, is numeric, is age saved as numeric? That means you can simply ask is dot numeric, yeah, then you can write your object dot age, yeah, then you will see whether it's numeric or not. Let's say in my case it's true, it's numeric, but if I write something else, then I may also have a different response. So that's again, yeah, these are really the start, and then here I gave you how to check the total number of missing values. So you can just simply pass is NA and then your object, I mean the variable. Then you call sum. That means you are counting the total number of missing values in your data for a certain variable. If your data has a missing value, that means you need to remove. When you calculate mean, you need to use this NARM equals true. You can either write T or TRU in capital letters. Then you can calculate the mean. And then finally we calculated BMI from from a height which was actually stored in centimeter. We divided it by 100, we squared it, and then we inverted it, then we multiplied it by weight. Then we got the BMI score. Finally, we calculated standard deviation and mean. Yeah, so these are really the basic steps. Next, I will show you how to do data manipulation, like creating new variable. Maybe that's not the first step, but I will show you how to make if-else statements, maybe writing functions, writing your own function, which is also very important. And then loops, for loop. That's actually a very difficult concept, for loop. And maybe if I get it, I can also make it show you some while loop. And then after that, we do data manipulation, like creating new variables, like as we did now, but more like filtering objectives, let's say counting duplicated observations, things like that. And then after that, we will jump into once you know the type of data you have, once you know you don't have missing values, and so on and so forth, then you do visualizing. So you do visualization. So I will start with the like base R visualization tool, but then you may not actually want it. I actually didn't do base R. I started with ggplot2, as I said. You may simply jump start with ggplot2 because that's really the most important thing in your R future. Yeah, but knowing the base R plotting functions is also important. Then after that, we do the basic models like linear model, GLM. Then if depending on your demand, if you want, we can also do text mining. That's what I'm currently doing. Or maybe machine learning is also what I'm interested in. You can also do that, depending on your request. We can do so many things. Yeah, this is just completely voluntary thing. I want to improve my own skill. At the same time, I also want to pass what I have. So we can try anything depending on your interest. Let's say missing value replacement. We have so many ways of calculating imputation methods. We have let's say random forest is one of the great tools. You can impute missing values. I want to do it. I haven't applied it. I have done it, like to do some tutorials, but I have never applied it for my own data or research. But I believe it's very important. Yeah, and then there is also from HMISC. You can also do there is also the data missing value imputation methods there. You can also do that. There are many things you can do. So it's nice that we started. From this time on, we will probably meet often and talk more. Okay, so that's all. I advise to revise, maybe to have a look at the video, or maybe find out, Google some more resources, and then you will slowly, step by step, you will learn the things that you want to do in R. Thanks. Okay, so I will need to stop the streaming.
What kind of a layer is that? Well, maybe that's also a fully connected layer. If so, it's going to have all these lines. Each neuron will have 4 inputs coming from the 4 inputs on layer 2. You see these kinds of drawings all the time. They're a mess. Just no one wants to look at all these lines. This is how it might look in the paper. No one wants to look at it. I wrote these things in an iconic form. I use this little icon where we're going to see them. But it's not. And underneath, I identify how many neurons. So this picture at the bottom is the same thing. We have 3 layers of 3, 2, 3, 2. These I use an O and the network at the far left end. I should be a 4. We have 4. And then the far right left. Wow, how many times do you have so here it is, organized vertical, because we want to make it a deep network, right? That was a long network. Okay, we can draw it. Generally, the data either goes left, right, or bottom up. So here we're drawing the bottom up. Once again, we can draw it. If we draw the 3 boxes, and once again, we make the same typo. Now, we name the layer. The layer at the bottom, the name of the layer is the input layer. Now, the input layer has no processing. It's just where the input values sit. Okay, no processing in the input layer.